For the purposes of this video, there are 2 facts you guys need to know about me. Technically 3, but I'm fairly confident the fact that I enjoy crocheting is common knowledge on the channel at this point. So fact 1, I am a collector of crap. I tend to hoard the junk that non-crafty people would just throw away because, quote, I might be able to use that one day. Fact 2, do not let the channel name fool you. I am actually part moth. And by that I mean I frigging love lights. There is something about the soft, warm glow of an incandescent bulb or the bright, bold colours of RGB LEDs that just make my brain go, ooh, pretty, rainbow, dynamite. So yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying I want to make a light using crochet with a bunch of junk I have in my collection. This whole idea basically started because I was sorting through my junk collection the other day for like the 3rd time, and I found this. And after testing to see if it actually worked, which it does, I was like, I need to make myself light. But obviously, this being, an electrical appliance, I am slightly concerned about fire hazards when it comes to putting crochet directly on this. So, a bit more scrounging through my junk collection turned up this. No idea what this originally was, but that fits rather neatly on my light. And it still lights up fairly well. So I am thinking I will crochet around this and create myself a nice crochet light, but one that I can sort of just pop the top off when, oh, that is so bright. Pop the top off when I need to, to reduce the risks of starting a fire, because I would rather not do that if I had the choice. I think that's going to look pretty cool. My neighbour's house alarm is going off again. It's done that for several hours at a time over the last 3 or 4 days. There hasn't been an incident as far as I'm aware, but if there ever is one, I don't think anyone around here is going to be paying attention because it just goes off all the bloody time anyway. I was planning to continue recording yesterday after my neighbour's alarm stopped going off. That didn't happen for several hours, so I'm recording today instead. Where was I up to yesterday? I think I was explaining the plan. The word plan might be a bit generous there. It's sort of more of a vague idea, but I'm just going to start by creating a base for my piece. So I've got some cardboard. I'm going to pop that on there, and that's all I've got so far. I don't know where I'm going to go from there, but at least that gives me something to do today. Hello. Now that that's done, I just want to test it out to make sure that both my light and the covering fit. So let me grab those. Light should just fit right up in there. Excellent. And then I need to make a space for the cord too. But then that should just fit right on the top. There we go. Get in there. That's good so far. Now that I have the basic foundation laid out, it's time for the fun part, adding some crochet. I will start by making... This is the one problem with having the circle bit off center. I can't just start in the middle and crochet my way out. I'm going to have to make room for the hole. Kind of reminds me of one of those, those novelty boards that have characters or animals printed on them. You stick your head through and get your picture taken. Maybe I should crochet one of those. What the hell I would do with that, I don't know, but that could be fun. Anyway, this is my base, my foundation for my light. Yes, it is misshapen and ugly, but I don't care about that too much because I intend to decorate it. It will be covered. So this is pretty much just something to stick or sew those decorations to. Doesn't have to look pretty. At this point, I've got my base. I have my light, which will sit up through there. And then this will sit on top of that to, oh dear, everything's falling. And then that will sit over the top of it to protect the light. That's working so far, but now it's crunch time. I've got to decide what it is I actually want to make. I'm caught between two ideas. Number one is like a tree stump with like mushrooms on it. I'm taking inspiration from my moss wall. Well, it's a succulent wall that looks more like a moss wall, but I'm taking inspiration from that. So I'm thinking of using similar color scheme, sticking with a similar style with like the mushrooms and the flowers and such. But my second idea, which I'm leaning slightly more towards at the moment, is a mushroom light. I'm still in my using up my yarn stash before buying any new yarn phase, and I have some chunky stuff left over from a project I did before Christmas for my cousin that I can use on this. Do I want to do this? Do I want to commit to a mushroom light? I like the tree stump idea too. You know what? I don't think it matters all that much which one I go with, because my plan, don't hit the mic, the plan is to make the light part removable. So if I put my like mushroom forest thing on here, I could theoretically at some point in the future make a separate but similar piece with the tree stump, and I could just like replace them as I see fit. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Here I am thinking it's going to be like permanently stuck down, but it's not. Okay, there we go. Problem solved. I'm going to make a mushroom version this time around just because I want to use up this yarn. But future project idea, we can make a tree stump light. Best of both worlds. I get both lights. I am going to crochet this separately and then sew it on. Trying to work around this cardboard is a pain in the ass. I'm thinking I should stop and sew this on now, because if I leave it too much longer, it's just going to get more and more difficult to attach these two pieces together. In good news, I have finished the bottom section of my mushroom. In bad news, I kind of hate it. It ended up way bigger than I expected, and with the exception of maybe the bottom section, there's not much I can do about that because the container is like literally right there. The crochet is pressed pretty much firmly against the container at the top section here, and if I made the bottom section any narrower, it would just be a tube at that point. It wouldn't be very mushroom shaped. I could maybe frog this and attempt a different shape, but to be perfectly honest, I don't want to do that. Not only is it a waste of time, but as I've mentioned, the container shape isn't going to really allow me to do that very much. And on top of that, my hands have just been really sore for several weeks, and the thought of having to frog all this and then recrochet it just makes them throb even more. So I would like to avoid that if I can. Not super pleased with it, but at this point, I think my only option is to soldier on through and attempt to fix it. All my plans that I had for the foundation, the decoration for the bottom section here, they've all gone out the window because this thing is just super chunky. It's basically knocked them off the platform, but I'll deal with that later. For now, I'm going to crochet a top for this, and I've got some purple yarn already selected that I want to use up. So let's just do that, and hopefully I can make this project come together somehow. Why do this to me? It's okay. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Mushroom top complete. I think the shape is okay, but I don't think I'm going to get a full feel for it until I've crocheted onto the bottom here. But how, because I shaped it a little bit, the question is how do I want to approach this? Is that all right? I mean, I think that looks okay. Without the stuffing, it's probably hard to visualize it properly, but yeah, I think that'll work. I'm certain I finished on the same number of stitches, but that doesn't feel like it's lining up very well. Oh, that's just what I need to have screwed up the rounds so they don't match. Hopefully I haven't buggered it up too badly. Hello, I am Mr. Mushroom, and I am a real fun guy. Turns out I did have the correct number of stitches in the final round of each piece, so that's good. Except the top's kind of looking a bit limp and floppy. I'm hoping that'll fix itself once I've added the stuffing. But if not, it's probably just going to stay like that. But we'll add the stuffing and hope for a miracle. A crochet miracle. It's not too bad, I suppose. I mean, the top's kind of flopping all over the place, but we'll call that a deliberate design choice because that way I get to decide what position I want the top to be in. Yes, I did that deliberately with intent. Not really sure where to go from here because all the plans that I had originally gone up in smoke. My best idea at the moment is to use up some of the green yarn I have left over from my succulent wall and basically crochet the same thing because apparently making 500 plus succulents just wasn't enough for me. But at least I can use them as sort of foliage or grass, fern type stuff down the bottom here. Might make a few additional mushrooms, have them scattered around. That was kind of what I was going for originally until this behemoth just took over the entire project. I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to basically wing it from here. I had some plans. Those plans were ruined. Now I'm making shit up as I go along. Far too many of my projects end up like this. Maybe I should just not plan at all. Maybe I should just wing everything from the start. My mushroom light is now complete. And this one surprised me. I've got to say, this one surprised me. But before we do the full reveal, we are going to do... In today's hookup segment, we are featuring a creator called the Dorky Yarn Lady. She describes herself as, I am a dorky yarn lady who loves to mostly crochet and sometimes knit. Very succinct description, short and to the point. All of the Dorky Yarn Ladies links will be down in the description. Please go check her out, give her a follow and or a subscribe. If you yourself would like to have your creations featured in the hookup, there is a link to a Google form down in the description, so just go on, fill that out, and you can apply. It's basically as simple as that. Now that we've done the hookup segment, I want to show you my mushroom light. You ready? Yeah, the top's still a little bit floppy, but ta-da! This is what it looks like when it's not being a light, but I want to show you what it looks like when it is actually a light. But give me a sec, I got to set up here. I'll need to turn one of my other lights off. My power board is not big enough to contain all of these electronics. And I don't really want to create a fire hazard by plugging in too many things at once. Sorry, Spideys, you're going to have to jump out of the way for now. Let's fix you guys up a little bit. You're looking slightly wonky there. All right, how's that looking? Is that all in the frame? You can see that? Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. I don't know how well that is actually showing up on the camera, but there we have it. My mushroom light. Pretty much all the way through this project, I'd say for about the first 90% of it, I wasn't super happy with how it was turning out. I thought the mushroom was too big, and to be honest, I still think that to a certain degree. I thought this was just way too big to begin with, and because that was the case, that threw off all the plans I had for the base, so I had to come up with something new for those. But now that I have, reached the end of this project, it is finished for all intents and purposes, I kind of like it. It does not match my original vision, but it's still okay for what it is, I think. And really what it is was a project that would allow me to A, use up a lot of my scrap yarn, which I did, and B, use up some of the junk from my junk collection, again, which I did. One thing I didn't do, and I'm still not sure if I should try this out, was because this mushroom turned out just bloody huge, I was going to maybe turn it into like a little fairy house. So I was going to crochet a little door, maybe a couple of windows, but I kept going back and forth on that idea. I didn't know if I would like it or not. So maybe one day, if I've got a bit of scrap yarn, I can just try it and see what it's like. And also I was worried about blocking the light too much as well. But I don't know. Same thing with the vines. They're not actually secured. I've just weaved them through the stitches here. So they're not sewed on. They're not permanently attached. Because again, I'm going back and forth on those. I don't know if I like them or not. But they're going to stay there for now. Before we go, I want to let you have a good look at this light in not quite the dark, but in a darker space. I'm going to turn these lights off. And there we are. It worked out better than I thought it would, the light portion. I imagined that with both the container, then the stuffing, then the crochet, it might block a lot more of the light than it actually does, but it's diffused quite nicely. Now I need to rearrange my background again to try and fit it in. I've accidentally gone for a theme here, the pinks, the blues, the purples with the greens. Didn't mean to, just kind of happened that way. It's giving me sort of fairy tale fantasy forest vibes, and I'm digging it, so I'm not going to change that. But yeah, I'll need to rearrange this a little bit better. That'll be a project for another day. Thank you all for watching, and another big thank you to all my patrons for your continued support. You guys are so amazing. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and I will see you all next week with another video.